Good evening, everybody, and welcome inside Upon Further Review, the high school football podcast for the Northeast Indiana region. Alongside the coach, Shannon Griffith, I'm Eric Doot and we look ahead tonight to the state finals, a big night of semi-state football action last Friday, moving into the state finals this coming weekend. Coach, happy Thanksgiving, happy state finals weekend, happy football bonanza weekend as we roll in to the ultimate weekend of the year for high school teams across the state of Indiana.
Yeah, for those kids that are playing, it's a unique experience to be able to play into the Thanksgiving weekend. It's you know that you've reached the pinnacle of the ultimate opportunity is to win a state championship. Having 3 out of the 4 teams make it to the state playoffs going to cause me to spend my bonus points for a room down there. I think Rumpy's already complaining about the prices of rooms, but but yes, we've got 3 teams going down, 3 deserving teams. Leo just ran into a very, very good Northwood team with a legitimate D1 talented kid, Nitro they call him. He's just an amazing athlete that can dominate. They lost Caden Hurst in that ball game as well, but a great run from the Leo Lions, and those kids have nothing to be ashamed of, and a great job by Jason Dorfler and his staff, and we'll see what happens. We had a great game. Snider Maryville, my goodness. Justin Kenny joined me on the call, as you know, and he did a great job. But after that first series, I was really concerned about the physicality and size of Maryville and Snider being able to, penetrate that defense that they had. They had a talented defensive line and secondary. And it really came down to the chunk play that Snider was able to get by Kieran Billingsley, who had a phenomenal football game. That kid really managed the game well. When the opportunity presented itself to make a big play, he did. Uriah Buchanan ran hard. That's the hardest I've ever seen the kid run. And they just weren't going to be denied. And fortunately for them, they made enough of the big plays and sacked the quarterback a few times, and the special teams, played a part in that ball game as well. But they they may have to play 2 championship games the way they had to play against Maryville, because it was a hard hitting game.
Absolutely. Snider rolls 28-0 over Maryville in our 1380 game of the week out at Spooler Stadium, the 5A Stadium.
Go ahead. That? I'm sorry. I was just going to say that was probably the most surprising score of the night. The fact that it was a 28-0 game, because the score wasn't indicative of how close it really was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and it was close in the first video. At halftime, 7-0. You and Justin Kenny were on the call. A lot of, I think that first quarter in particular, there was a lot of that feeling out process.
Absolutely.
The content with a little bit of the field position game, seeing their defense versus your offense and so on. And then really, it was 7-0 at halftime. And then in the second half, Snider blows away open. You mentioned Uriah Buchanan, what he was able to do running, for what he was able to do there. The defense coming up. Another pick 6 for Brandon Logan.
Yeah, that was kind of the nail in the coffin, you could say.
6 interceptions on the year, 4 for touchdowns for Logan. Hello. We had him on earlier in the year. He really wants to play baseball, but
this is how good these defenses were, and I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Logan. Kieran Billingsley was 5 of 10 for 30 yards. But the big play on that was the 81-yard throw that he made to Langus, I believe, and that was kind of the difference in that ball game. But they held Maryville's quarterback to 5 of 12 for only 43 yards, and I believe Maryville only rushed, I believe, for 116 yards. So they were, I mean, the defense was as good that night as Maryville's defense in some respects. It was the battle of two defenses because Maryville came into that game only giving up 13 points on average.
Yeah.
And they had some players.
Yeah.
Really good players.
Yeah, and I mean, credit to Maryville that they get past Valpo to get to the semi-state. That's a conference matchup that bared out in the regional round as well. Valpo had beaten Maryville in the regular season. The Pirates avenged that loss in the regionals, 24-20, a game that came down to the end, and obviously Snider, the field goal kick, 45 yards at regional to get to their semi-state as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's an interesting time of year because you have almost like these fantasy matchups leading into it where it's like, okay, Snider's offense, Maryville's defense. Maryville takes care of Valpo. Snider edges Mishawaka. And, then we see 28-0 with just Snider firing on all cylinders. And I think that was a big night for everybody. And just an interesting side note to that. So Snider returns to the state finals for the first time since 2015. They won state that year. Certainly also a big part of that storyline that we can talk a little bit later on as well is the fact that they got over that semi-state hump from a year ago.
Yeah.
They were just a little bit, they lose in overtime to Valpo. So just real quick, coming up a little bit here, we'll have Kyle Lindsey on, head coach of the Bishop Luers Knights. He'll be joining us to talk about his big 2A win. Later on from Snider, we'll be joined by the linebacker, Lukas Rohrbacher, who
phenomenal game
coach. He is a motor in that linebacking core for the Panthers. So it'd be fun to talk to him a little bit about as they go to state. So, and of course, Adams Central, another team that made it to state in Class 1A, taking care of business, 14-0. Early on, it was close, but they move along and they'll play Indianapolis Lutheran for the third year in a row. We'll preview all those matchups coming up. But first, Coach, I think it's time to bring in our first guest of the night. We're thrilled to be joined by the head coach of the Bishop Luers Knights, Kyle Lindsey, who's joining us this week. Kyle, first of all, thanks for joining us tonight. Congratulations on the semi-state victory last Friday, and now another opportunity for the Bishop Luers Knights to play for a state championship.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm glad I could finally make this work for you guys.
You're a tough man to track. You're a tough man to track down on Sunday nights. I completely understand it.
Fall's a busy time.
Yes, it is.
You guys do a good job of watching some of your podcasts. Happy to be here.
Yeah,
absolutely. We appreciate it and you coming on. First of all, talk about Friday night. The emotion of those games. I think in some respects, I don't know, just from I've never played, I was not a coach, but the emotion of Friday is different when you get there because the fans come out on the field, the team celebrates. Whereas you go to Lucas Oil, they're going to keep everybody in the stands, all that. But obviously, you want to stay together. Just talk about that atmosphere Friday night for you and your team to take care of business against Lafayette Central Catholic and really the momentum that comes out of that and such a strong showing heading into the state finals.
Yeah, I mean, it's what Friday nights are about. It's what all of us who played the game, what we talk about, what we reflect on our experiences playing the game, for the kids to have that joy of winning a championship game, of punching a ticket to Lucas Oil. It's indescribable. There's only one better feeling than winning your very last home game at the semi-state level, and hopefully that's something we can accomplish next weekend. But just just flooded with joy, with pride for these kids, the senior class in particular, who've come so far. And then, having the students rush the field and parents and family and friends, it's just a fun time for everybody involved. And I'm glad we were able to pull it out and that we all had that experience.
for you, Coach, talk about this postseason run. You guys come up as SAC co-champs. You lose that game against Homestead in the final regular season, but still able to get a share of the conference. Turning, your preparations for the postseason. Everybody talks about it every year. Playing in the SAC, how that gets, and the new schedule now this year. How has that shaped out for you guys this year, and just planning and getting back to this point and getting back to Lucas Oil?
In all honesty, after that Homestead game, there was really no resets. Like, okay, now we're in two-way. We're playing teams our size, roster enrollment, whatever you want, however you want to look at it. We knew that we played pretty well in many regards to our game, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. We knew we had a running game that never really got into full gear during the regular season. And we knew heading out of 7 weeks in a row of SAC play, and then when you add East Noble and New Haven at the front end of the schedule to open the year, that was a physical football season. We had some kids coming banged up into the playoffs a bit. I'm knocking on wood here. We've been blessed for the most part with health. But as a coaching staff, we were kind of, caught on that fine line of making sure we get some kids rest and at the same time maintaining a level of focus, of preparation, particularly in the physicality of practices. That's one thing that reminded the kids this last week. It was last Thursday. One of the seniors said, "Hey, are we going to be in pro pads today? Or was it just helmets?" We've been in pro pads every single day for 5 weeks, young man. What makes you think we're just going to throw the helmets on tonight? I mean, high school kids, these teenagers, man, they give the death of me, but it's a fun group. That's our mentality as a coaching staff has been make sure that we keep a physical edge throughout practice. This is one of the first times I can remember where we haven't probably been week 7, week 8, maybe after the Dwenger game, which was just a physical back and forth battle. I think after that we dialed it back on fully padded practices. Our pro padded practices are very physical, as quite frankly, as they should be. Which is the only difference is we're not targeting people from the waist down. The idea is to keep kids on their feet. The kids have, for the most part, lived up to those expectations, and when they don't, they get a chewing, usually from me. But the coach has done a heck of a job of maintaining that, again, walking that fine line of being physical and at the same time making sure we're healthy, making sure we're doing things that we're supposed to in accordance with the NFHS rules, the ISO bylaws. But these kids, they bring it on a daily basis. They're committed to getting better. They know when we get to our team meeting to lead off every week on Monday after school, they know I'm not just going to sit there and pat them on the back for a job well done, when they know that we still have room to grow, and that this is going to be no different tomorrow when they see me, whenever that is, when I get back from Indy. They're going to tell them what they did well, congratulate them. We're going to enjoy the week. We kind of set the tone for the week, but there's work to be done, and it's going to be up to the ultimately up to the kids to really fall in line and make sure that they have their head on right and they're focused for practice.
Coach, one thing and a couple things here that when I think about you and your coaching staff, I have personally always said that you do a great job of reading the kids that you have, no matter what year it is, finding out what they do well, and then really trying to hone in on things that you do well and kind of getting, away from things that maybe are not, geared for this team. I think personally as a coach, you're probably one of the better ones with that, especially with your quarterbacks, knowing, what they can or can't do in terms of running the show or what throws they're going to do. So first and foremost, I just want to compliment you and your staff for that, especially because you come out, like you said, 0-2, playing some tough competition. And, you were able to rebound off of that and then win, a sectional championship, even though kosher, however you want to put it, the bottom line is you won a sectional championship, and now you're heading to Indy to play for the state championship. So from that standpoint, I just, again, not to pat you on the back too much, just like you probably don't want. But I do think that all needs to be said, because I've always felt that way watching your kids play, and then of course calling the games that we've been fortunate to be a part of over there at Bishop Luers. Friday night, McKenzie had a pretty good night against a very talented team. I mean, you were not taking on just some other team that was just happened to get there. I mean, you're playing one of a tradition-rich Lafayette Central Catholic team. So in that respect, you had a tough one on your bill. But he was 7 of 14, I believe, about 180 yards, had 1 touchdown. Talk about his growth this year, being a kid that really first year really getting a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, he's been I wouldn't say a surprise. He's a very talented kid. He's put a lot of hard work in to improve his skills, both as a quarterback, physically, emotionally, mentally, knowing the game, knowing his opponent. But he's had to be very patient in his career. Like Stansky a year ago, he had to wait till his senior year to get his shot, and it hasn't always been easy. It's not. Quarterback, the quarterback position is probably the toughest in just about any sport.
Yeah,
knowing what your responsibilities are is tough in itself, because you handle the ball every snap. There's only 2 people on the field that handle the ball every snap. You and that center. You got to know what everybody in front of you is doing, what everybody on the perimeter is doing, what that backfield's doing. You got to know. Based on scouting, based on film study, what that opponent's doing. There's a lot of the, behind the scenes work that goes into it. And, it hasn't been easy for him, like any first year quarterback. But, I like to think in some of our biggest games this year, he's really stepped up to the plate. And Friday night was, without a doubt, one of his better ones. Put the ball in the air just 14 times. He made good decisions. And that's something that he has done overwhelming majority of the season, make good decisions. It's like he knew where the ball was supposed to go. A couple of those incompletions, we just, we're on the same page with the receivers, or receivers lost their footing. It was a little slick out there Friday. But no, he knew. I mean, we headed into the season. We were going to play championship football. We were going to do it behind a defense that we were convinced was going to be playing at an elite level. We weren't convinced how soon that was going to be. We've been playing pretty darn well for about 3 months, and then establishing a run game. I was watching an NFL game today, and I think it was the Bucs were playing, and they were playing the Niners. Maybe the commentator said something about their offensive coordinators. It's not going to be a team that's going to rush for 200 yards any week in the NFL, but they're going to be committed to running the game. That's going to open things up in the passing game, and that philosophy is something we've stuck to. It's not always easy, because you put on film and you see a lot of the matchups that you like, maybe in spread. A lot of times we get in the spread to run the ball, find running lanes. Mm-hmm. And as a quarterback who can sling it like he can, he's a super talented kid. That could be emotionally tough. But to his credit, he's bought in. He hasn't complained about the offensive role that he has. He's just ready to make plays when his name's called. I think he gets a sense of confidence that I have in him as his play caller. We do put him in positions to throw the ball down the field. We got some big body receivers, and Zay and Jalen White out on the perimeter.
That's absolutely
physical kids on the offensive side of the field. It's still an inexperienced line. We're heading into week 15, and I look at the 2 deep. We're still so young.
Yeah.
So it can be hard to just line up and smash it down people's throat. I don't think we really expected to do that for an entire year. There's been weeks where we did expect to do it, and we didn't. We had to rely on play action or screen game or a vertical passing game. And again, to Cohen's credit, he's taken on the role, whatever we've asked for him. He's doing it with his chin up. He's doing it with confidence. And, when he's playing well, this entire team's playing well.
Well, you talked about that running game, and, I know you mixed some counter action and things of that name, but, the power running game, which I'm in full belief of. But you got two kids back there that can, get it done in different ways. They're not the same, but you got, Mickey Daring back there, but Gio, I love that kid. He is so talented to watch just him run the football, and he runs it hard. He may be a 5'8", 5'7", but he, when he gets it, he goes. There's no hesitation on his part. But, he's a kid that's really played a lot of ball for you, and he's done some great things throughout the years. But this, to me, might be one of his better years.
Oh, without a doubt. He's a kid, as a sophomore, even in the beginning of his junior year, he was starting in that secondary as a safety alongside Zay. He's a football player, just like Mickey. These kids are football players. We got a lot of football players that doesn't matter where we put them, how many touches we get. These kids don't care. They want to win football games. They want to play the game the right way. They want to be physical. Having a tandem like Mickey and Gio in the backfield, it's fun to watch. And it'd have been fun to see them, with some of these hosses that we see week in and week out. That's that's not discrediting our offensive line. Our offensive line, our line coaches, they've done a phenomenal job. They've really stepped up. They've gotten better and better and better. They're playing with confidence right now, in large part because those kids behind them have been so consistent. And Gio and Mickey, Gio, shifty. He does it all. Majority part of the regular season, I'd say about half of the regular season, he was out there in the slot. I think he's got maybe 15 receptions or so, but he's making everyone count. He's been a big part in our screen game on the perimeter. He mixes up and blocks, above average out there. But he gets the ball in his hands. He's getting downhill. I think he runs with a lot more confidence when he's running behind Mickey. Mickey just being the, your throwback. You give the ball. Doesn't matter what he's going to do. He's going to go hard. He's going to block somebody. He's going to go out of his way when he gets in the open field to find somebody to run over. That's just that kind of energy that those two create from the running back position that carries over into our sidelines, into our special teams, into our defense. The confidence that our team has after a tough run by one of those two, or a big block on the perimeter by an Isaac Zay, or Jalen White, a Wes Javens, who mix it up and get involved. They give themselves up as teammates. They care about each other. They care about winning. And there's one thing I always share it with the team. I made more intent recently the last few weeks, playing in these big championship games of just how to be a team player. Look at Mickey Daring and Gio Jimenez. They were the unanimous selections as team captains to start the year. Them and Isaac Zay, and they not one complaint from any of those three about what their roles are, how many carries they were getting or not getting. And Gio could have been lined up in the backfield, every down and had a tremendous amount of success. But there were times against some of the bigger, more physical teams, we needed to hit his speed out on the perimeter, and we wanted to maybe Mickey setting the physical tone for the offense early in games. So Mickey's kind of taken the load in some of the in the regular season, some of the bigger schools that we face. Mickey probably had a bigger load, but one thing's for sure, when you watch them, one of the two, when they score a touchdown, the other one is the first to sprint down there and celebrate with them. It's pretty remarkable to watch. And when you have your two guys on the team, your two captains in the same backfield together, just feeding off each other in full support for one another and doing it in such an unselfish manner, that just carries over into how to play Luers football, what the expectations around here are. There's no way around it. We got a young roster. Got a lot of young kids, junior, sophomore class that have seen the varsity field probably a lot earlier than maybe most programs. But they're learning how to play from guys like Mickey, guys like Gio, Zay, Javins. You name, more than half of this senior group. They watch them perform on Friday nights and just how much they care about each other. And I'd like to think our future's in good hands because of their efforts.
Absolutely. Coach Kyle Lindsey joining us here tonight on Upon Further Review. Coach, your defense is really lived up, especially in the second half of the season. I think 64 points in October and November through all those games. Just talk about their and I've seen it on some of the swag on the social media. The idea of keeping teams out of the end zone, that's a big thing that I've seen from some of the players, guys like Damian Jackson and Surrey and those guys. Talk about their growth and their development and as a unit. Defense wins championships. We're seeing that bear out for the Bishop Luers Knights.
Yeah, absolutely. They are the lifeline of this team. Again, we knew that heading into the season. If we were going to build a state contender, it was going to be behind the defense. We're very disruptive up front, very athletic up front. Between Buxton at his nose tackle position as a junior, he's about as unblockable as anybody up front. He's been starting to rack up some sacks, or I should say some tackles for loss, some tackles in the stat box. But that doesn't really matter. These kids don't really care about stats. They care about winning. They care about keeping their opponents out of the end zone. When you got a nose tackle that's taking on double teams, that's living in the backfield, your supreme athletes around him like Damian Jackson, Wes Javins, Isaac Zay, wherever he's going to line up on the field from his safety position, linebacker, defensive end. Those guys can shine. It's just. I'm watching the film, breaking down the film, and doing stats for our defensive staff. Yesterday, I had a tough time deciding who our best defensive player was from Friday night. They were just so awesome. Mickey Daring and Finn Sachs at the linebackers position, not just cleaning up. I mean, they're making plays in the backfield. And Mickey is up there. And tackles for loss. I think he's got 12 tackles for loss. He got 26 from both defensive ends. Damian Jackson is just, a 6'5", strong athlete who plays the game mean. And he might be the most improved player on our team. He might be the best player on our team. Wes Javins, every big game we've had, he has had multiple tackles for loss, sacks. They almost have identical stat lines in terms of tackles for loss. Two of our three top tacklers on the team are on our defensive front. That's special. That's not something you're going to see every year. I know that's not something that will probably be in the cards for next year, but right now, those guys up front are going to work. They're eating. And then on the back end, we don't have one member when Isaac's up in the box. We don't have one member in our secondary that's a senior. They're all sophomores. They're all pups, sophomores, juniors. Look at the play of D. Hogue last week. Holy cow! I think he probably solidified himself as the best, if not one of the best, underclass defensive backs in the state. Class. Pop on his highlight film. If you don't know D. Hogue, pop on his highlight film. The defensive coaching staff just walked out. They have the last couple minutes of this. They're loving it. No, he's phenomenal. But Davion Surrey at corner, Mikhail Woodson at corner or at safety. Jalen White might be the best defensive back in the program. We haven't really needed him. Last week, I'm happy. The game plan was last week we bumped Mikhail Woodson, who's a second team all conference defensive back as a sophomore, which is amazing in itself. He bumps back to safety next to D. Hogue. And now you've got a 6'2", 180-pound athlete who's physical against a really strong LCC pass game. And those kids had a tough time getting off the line of scrimmage against him. He took away the entire
Jackson kid is phenomenal off the edge.
Oh, Felger. You have Finn Sachs, Felger. There's weeks. Felger's the best player on the field on defense. I think it just went through everybody who plays defense.
Yeah, I think you did. But because they all deserve it. Because they all deserve it.
The depth that we bring in too is it's tremendous. Coach Bradley, the defensive staff they've been doing a phenomenal job. I watch a ton of film. I think some kids in my PE class, especially when we don't have a gym available, they'll attest to that. But I look at the huddle. There's a line on huddle. You can look at how much film people are putting in, including your coaching staff. And as much film as I watch, Coach Bradley, Carson Bradley, our defensive coordinator, he's probably got several hours on top of me. He puts in a lot of work. Those guys put in a lot of work. Their communication, their breakdown of film, their game plans, they're phenomenal. They're putting kids in position to succeed. And then ultimately it's on the kids to put trust, to have trust in their coaches, to believe in the game plan, and the kids go out and they execute it. Not to perfection. Perfection on the football field is not really attainable, but they believe that they're going to be perfect. And when they give up a score, they're disappointed. They're mad. And I know the last 2 weeks they're mad that we gave up some short field touchdowns. So there's a little more. There's always a little bit more that we hang over the kids. A carrot to be dangled in front of the kids in terms of, hey, we can be better, and they're going to be better next weekend.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, you mentioned it next weekend, this coming weekend, the state finals for you guys. We wish you the best of luck at Lucas Oil Stadium and the 2A state championship and your return again as a coach. You played there as a player, won a couple. Now as a coach, it's got to be exciting to lead that program to state. We wish you guys the best, and we'll catch you guys down the road.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Thank you, buddy. Good luck.
All right. That was head coach Kyle Lindsey from Bishop Luers High School joining us. They return, like I said, to the 2A state championship on Saturday.
They play
2,
Saturday.
4, and 6 on Saturday.
They play at 11 o'clock on Saturday. Yep. They play at 11.
Good luck to the Luers Knights. Quite the tournament resume they've had this year. And Coach, from one semi-state champion going to the state finals to another, we're pleased to switch and transition to our next guest here. Joining us from the Snider Panthers, linebacker senior Lukas Rohrbacher, joining us here tonight. Lukas, thanks so much for joining us here on Upon Further Review. Congratulations on the semi-state title and punching the ticket for the Snider Panthers to the state finals.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So talk about Friday night. I was there, Coach was there, you were there. That emotion, you guys got to semi-state a year ago, come up a little bit short in overtime. The 365-day grind that has, been on the weight room and been all over the to get back here and to get over that hump and get to state. Just talk about what that year's been like for this Snider Panthers group.
It's been the hardest year we've worked of all of our years of playing football together. This off season, we saw guys that didn't normally put in the effort that they were putting in, but they stepped it up this year. And I think that's what makes us a little different is everybody bought in this off season, because the way we went out last year, seeing our seniors on that field in overtime, I think it did something to us, and we just didn't want to go out like that. So we just every day try our best and just do everything the coaches tell us to, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Friday night, you guys go into half 7-0 and come out and it's blaze of glory in that second half. What turned the switch at halftime? And you guys, especially on the defensive side, you and Brandon Logan, Landon Fry, a lot of guys all over the place. Just talk about that mentality coming out of the locker room for the second half of that game.
Yeah, if you can remember the last year's game going into halftime, we were up. We were in the same situation. I think we had a bigger lead last year. And so we just really wanted to focus on staying locked in there, communicating with our guys, and just coming out just as hard as we did in that first half, because we knew that, it's still a football game. We got a lot of time left on the clock, and we just had to keep on playing with that intensity that we came out there with to start the game.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Coach. You saw the game, Coach. I know you got some questions for him.
I can't hear him.
Coach, you might be on mute or something here.
I'm sorry. I hit my wrong button.
You're all good.
I'm
try
good.
that again. Go ahead, Coach.
I'm just a little older than you guys, okay? I was saying if I asked Lukas to grade his performance Friday night with him being the leading tackler, how would you grade your performance Friday night versus maybe the other games that led up to that particular night?
Yeah. Friday I'd say it was one of my better games I've had. So I'd say overall as a defense, that's really what impressed me Friday night, because that allows me to play fast. I can't play fast if the other 10 players out there aren't on the same page as me. So really that's kind of what made Friday night different. That's why I got those tackles. It's because everybody was on the same page all week. We were buzzing around that field, making plays. And that's what set Friday night apart from the other games.
That's a fair assessment, Luke, because I thought the same thing too. I thought your defensive front did a great job of keeping the linebackers clean against a team like Maryville, big, strong, and it was a hard-hitting game. Probably one of the hardest hitting games that I've seen in a while between two teams. But I thought, your play specifically as a group and a unit was pretty impressive. So now you got to turn the switch, all this emotion, culminates. You've made it to the pinnacle, I guess you can say, of an opportunity to play for a state championship against Decatur Central. What do you know about Decatur Central right now as a team?
So we've just started to, watch their film and get familiar with how they play. And, it's a state championship caliber team. Nobody's bad this week. So they do a lot of things good. And yeah, like any team, they have strengths and weaknesses, and we're going to go after their weaknesses, and we're going to prepare for their strengths. And we're just going to go out there and play the football we know how to play. And we'll see what the score is at the end of the day.
How did you come out of the game Friday night? You a little sore still?
Yeah. That last play when I jumped up there and Brandon picked the ball off, I caught a cramp
That's right.
I jumped, and so I was just laying on the ground watching him run that one in. And then after that, Coach told me, he said, "You're done. Just sit on the side."
Yeah, there you are right there. Kind of looked like you got caught by a sniper.
But he came out there wondering if I broke my leg, and I was just like, "Did he score?" Because I wasn't worried. I knew I'd be okay.
Well, and Brandon has done that 4 times this year already. So talk about that aspect. I mean, all 3 lines, the defensive line, the linebacker core that you lead, that secondary with Brandon, Levi was in there until he got injured. That entire defensive unit. I mean, we came into the year saying, okay, what about the offense? But we knew the defense would be good. Just talk about that unit and just how loaded it is against teams as they try to get down the field against you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, as you know, we got guys everywhere that just love making plays and going out there and competing. On our defensive line, you got Anthony Hernandez and Adam Blakey as our edges. And Blakey's done a real good job this year. He just doesn't turn his motor off. He just runs his feet. He can make a lot of plays that other people can't. And then inside, we got RJ, Isaac, and Will Kelso. And, Kelso's just a beast. He's so much quicker than all those linemen. They have a hard time getting hands on him. And then, Landon Fry, I think, has really stepped up and filled in the will position this year. And it helps me out at least a lot, knowing I can trust the guy that's next to me. And he's out there playing fast. He's playing some good football right now. And then back at the safety position, we had Levi earlier in the season, and he went down, but the guys that we have stepping up for him have been playing phenomenal. Alan Bolton, Wade Raines Jr., they're both real good, talented young guys that are ready. They're hungry. They just want to get out there and play. They want to learn more about the position and compete. And, Brandon, I don't have to say much about him. He scores a lot of touchdowns. He gets the ball a lot. He tackles people quick.
Sure.
Yeah, he's got a good nose for the football. That's for sure in that aspect of it. And he's done a tremendous job. But like Doot said, the entire defense has really, really come along. What do you think? What does your week look like as a player? Because there is a little bit of craziness in the middle of the week with this thing called Thanksgiving, and then 2 days later or a day later you're playing in the state championship at 7:30 in Lucas Oil. So what's your week practice wise look like for you guys, or do you know as of right now?
Yeah, we have a rough schedule. So we're going to be practicing, Monday, Tuesday, we'll get some install periods in, and I think we're going to try to practice inside somewhere in town. And then Wednesday, we're driving down to Indy to practice. And so we'll get a feel for, the stadium, the atmosphere, everything. And then Thursday on Thanksgiving, we're going to do a practice in the morning. And we'll have one more Friday morning before we get on the buses and head down there.
Little Thanksgiving Day practices. Those are the best, especially this time of year.
Yeah, hopefully.
Because there's only a handful of you guys still doing it. That's the special part of it.
Yeah, there's only 12 teams in the state, and we're lucky to be one of them.
Absolutely.
Hey, Lukas, the Rohrbacher name, a big one at Snider throughout the years. You're the latest generation of that. What does it mean to wear the script Snider on the helmet and to be back there and to be a Snider Panther and represent not only Snider at the state finals, but your family as well?
It means a lot. I was just having Thanksgiving dinner with my uncle and my dad, and they both played in state championships too. So it's just kind of cool to talk to them and see what their experiences with it were, how the game went for them. And then, it's just, I'd say it means everything to wear Snider across our helmets, because our school just comes out and they support us. We get a lot of students out there this year. It's getting pretty loud at the games. They're buying in. I think the school's just kind of getting behind us, because we're playing good football and we're showing it, and everybody wants to keep watching us for another week. I guess that's all I got to say.
Well, you represent the name well, young man, that's for sure. And I know that the family that's surrounding you is a very supportive family. So you've done them right by how you play the game and flying around and doing the things you do. I'm sure that they would say the same thing. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
What's next for you, real quick, Lukas? I know you got state this weekend, but in senior year, as far as your future, what does that look like? I know you've kind of been on the recruiting trail a little bit. What's college life shaping up for you after you're done at Snider?
If I'm being honest, I haven't thought about it at all. I thought
That's a good answer.
At those practices, I'm not going to think about it till we play that game, and whatever happens, because I'm not going to commit and go play at a college this week. So I'm going
There you go.
my
Good way to look at it.
I'll start worrying about that.
Good
Absolutely.
answer.
Well, no, that's great to see. Well, we wish you the best of luck on Friday night out of the 5A state championship as the Snider Panthers take on the Decatur Central Hawks. 5A state championship should be a good one. Congrats to you and your team on getting back to the state, and best of luck down there at Lucas Oil this weekend.
Thank you.
All
Good
right.
luck,
That was
Thanks for having me on.
all right. Take care. That was Lukas Rohrbacher, the fiery linebacker. I tell you, I was thinking today, like, who would you rather get hit by, Lukas or Brandon or Will Kelso? Or I tell you, this defense has
Yeah.
played up to its expectations all year long, and I think a big part of the reason why we see Snider headed down to the state finals, Coach.
Oh, no question. No question. The defense for them, I think you hit it on the head. Going into the year, we knew they were going to be the traditional tough as nails Snider defense, with what they do and who they had coming back. And, Lukas, I'm sure, has to prove a lot of people wrong, because they always say that, he's undersized or he's this or he's that. But man, he moves, and instinctively he has some of the best, football sense of a kid that I've seen, because he reads his keys. And man, and Friday night, that was the night for me, showed me what he is as a linebacker, because he made several plays, several tackles against bigger body kids. And, he cramped up because he goes 900 miles an hour. And he also does some things on offense here and there, and situational type of things. So him cramping up, I'm glad that was the reason he was down. There was that sense of, oh my gosh, what is this? Because you could see he was in some pain, and when they turned him over, it was like, okay, he's cramping, and that's the crazy thing about this time of year. I think, why are kids cramping this time of year when the weather is cold and such? It still comes down to, when you're playing that many snaps that kid's playing, there's a high probability they're going to cramp up. And I guarantee you, one thing that Coach Tippin will tell all his players this week is, you've got to get fluids in your body, because playing inside is so much different than playing outside when it comes to what you are, sweating out and stuff. So fluids this week will be vitally important for all the teams, so that they don't, suffer the dreaded cramps that he had
And
on Friday.
last I looked, Jim Irsay had not said whether the roof will be opened yet. So
Yeah,
there you go.
the IHSA always mandates that it's closed, and
There you go.
so
even trumps Jim Irsay, by the way.
yeah,
So
that's right.
well, it's great to have him on, and like I said,
it would be nice to have, if it's a great weather day, to have that open. I think it'd be cool, but they've always had it shut, and that's kind of what I've been told over the years.
There you go. Well, a great conversation with Lukas, and one of those kind of soft-spoken and mild-mannered, but man, on that football field, he can turn it loose. And so we wish him the best of luck this Friday as Snider plays for a state championship. Well, Coach, we talked about it off the top of the show. We had 4 games. We're 2 left standing from our area over the weekend. We have Snider and Luers. It was an exciting night, or I should say Adams Central too. Can't forget them. Number 3 teams, 2 from Fort Wayne proper, the 3rd school in Adams Central out of the ACAC. All in all, a successful night for Northeast Indiana. We talked about it. Leo got clipped, and obviously, that was a tough loss for them, and all of that. But really good showing by our teams really all season long to have 4 semi-states in the area in 260 on Friday night.
Absolutely. And, the Adams Central North Judson game was a barn burner in that first half, because at halftime it was 14-12 at half. So Adams Central must have just exploded in that second half against North Judson, because, like I said, it was a halftime game that was really close, and I was a little surprised with how close it was at half, because I did think that Adams Central had a better team than what North Judson had. But They both run the same offense, and you know, Hamilton, their quarterback, completed a big pass, 48-yard touchdown pass in the third quarter that kind of put the separation between them. And so, again, they're going to go play in Indiana Lutheran. It's going to be a tough match, and they'll kick things off on Friday down there in the Dome. And we will be broadcasting on both days down in Indianapolis. On Friday, it will be carried on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM, but on Saturday, I believe it's stream only. So the games on Saturday will be stream only because of all the college games that are going on that day with the bucket game and things of that magnitude. But, you'll be able to find us if you're driving down or to the games on Saturdays, on Saturday at least, through the app, 1380, the app, and things of that magnitude.
And a good reminder especially for our friends, you being on the call on 1380 on Friday and Saturday both, the fact that the way the IHSAA set things up, those games are no longer on television.
No,
so it's
right.
pay-per-view stream through their website. You certainly can do it that way, but if you go on to 1380thefan.com, you can listen or anywhere in the world for free to the calls of our local state championship games this weekend, and that's great to see as well. And Coach, you've done state championships before. From a commentator standpoint, what's that like? The excitement of being able to call that big of a game.
Well, I just think it's a part of what, our involvement as people that cover the high school football games on Friday nights up here, the opportunity to be a part of that game, calling it, and you can be a little bit more one-sided in your approach to the game because you're not trying to be down the middle as it pertains to the games that we've done on Friday nights when it's two area schools. So you can be a little bit one-sided in your assessments of things. But yeah, it's a great opportunity. I appreciate the fact that Federated Media and 1380 The Fan is an agreement to do these games. It's not a cheap cost for that. So I'm sure if you wanted to do something and make it a little bit of a sponsor pitch here for Rumpy, you could get a hold of him and see what may be available for that opportunity. But it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for everybody involved in that game. And Justin Kenny will be down there covering it like he normally does. And we were talking about that on Friday night after the game is, we're going to have to be down there for 2 days because of the way that things are set up. So but it's going to be a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, real quick with the remaining time here, let's kind of look at these games just a little bit. The 1A will start in chronological order. So Friday night, Friday will be the Class 1A, 3A, and 5A games, starting at 11 o'clock with the 1A game between Indianapolis Lutheran and Adams Central in Class 1A. They are the last 3 years these two teams have met. This is the third year, I should say, the way I should say it. Third straight year these two teams have met in the state championship game. Indianapolis Lutheran has won the previous two. They're going for a three-peat in the state championship, and maybe even it's three-peat or four-peat. I'm pulling it up here, but anyway.
Yeah, I can't remember.
They're a really good team. They're undefeated. Adams Central undefeated, I think, a year ago. This was Adams Central's first loss as well. But two really good teams, the cream of the crop in Class 1A. We kind of, from our area anyway, looked at this as being probably the state championship matchup all year long.
Yeah, and two different teams in terms of what they like to do. Lutheran is a more spread it out type of a team where They like to run the football, inside zone type of plays and zone reads, and then throwing the ball, as opposed to what Adams Central likes to do. And I think it'll be a pivotal game in the sense that if Adams Central can get on top and keep the game within reach, they'll have a great opportunity to get a win on Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's 42 straight wins for Indianapolis Lutheran.
That's
2
amazing.
back-to-back state titles. They're going for number 3. And looking it up here, their last loss came at the sectional semifinal in 2020. So Dave Pash, their head coach, 16th year there, 150 wins. So you're looking, I think.
Well, looks like I lost my compadre, Mr. Eric Dutkevich there. Little technical problems, but as far as this game against Indianapolis Lutheran on Friday, kickoff at 11, it's going to be one of those games that, again, like I had said, a game that Adams Central's defense will be tested, and it'll be a game that if they can run their offense well, they'll have a great opportunity to have a great night there in Indy Lutheran. And my friend Eric Dutkevich, we're going to see if we can get him back on here. So in the meantime here, we'll be right back after this. Well, we got the technical difficulties all figured out here. We were discussing the Adams Central Jets versus Indianapolis Lutheran game on Friday at 11 o'clock. And Duke, glad that you made it back. Sometimes this happens, and I'm glad that it wasn't something that was a major issue for you, and you could get back in here.
Fourth quarter adjustment here.
That's
we
right.
had to call an audible a little bit.
Yep.
But yeah, we were talking about that game, a big one. Indianapolis Lutheran, 42 straight wins, dynamic team, averaging 41 points a game. Their defense giving up 10. On the flip side, Adams Central giving up 49 or scoring 42.9, giving up under 6. So two dynamic offenses, different style of play, but two dynamic defenses as well.
Yeah, and like I said, this game is going to come down to, Adams Central's defense being able to control what, Indianapolis Lutheran likes to do. I'm trying to pull up their stats here. Their quarterback Willis is only a junior. He's thrown for over 1,600 yards, completing 70% of their passes. Now, what they like to do is they're a big screen team, so that's why the higher percentage. And then Hall, their running back, is a pretty big back. He's already ran for over 1,200 yards. So Adams Central's defense will be tested. This will be a big test for them. And then offensively, if they can do what they like to do and keep Indy Lutheran's offense on the sideline, they'll have a great opportunity.
Absolutely. So that'll be a big one on Friday night. Moving on in chronological order, date and time, the 2A state championship, the North Posey Vikings and the Bishop Luers Knights, Saturday, November 26th, this Saturday, 11 a.m. at Lucas Oil. Coach, the Knights are back. We talked with Kyle Lindsey earlier in the show. Great defense, especially the way that they've kind of come alive. Their offense is clicking. They don't, Luers doesn't have that breakout go-to running back. Quarterback play's been great, but they have that split back with Jimenez and Daring. And Luers tries to go for state championship number 12 come Saturday morning.
Yeah, and North Posey is not a team that you would, has had a lot of state experience, I don't believe, but they are a team that is, a running team as well. They got a quarterback, Stone, is completing almost 60% over 1,000 yards completion. And then they've got a kind of a trio at running back, a junior and two seniors. So they got Gavlin as a junior, over 1,200 yards. And then Stone and Gardner, the other two, the two seniors, both each have almost 1,000 yards. So they almost have three running backs with 1,000 yards rushing. So they're a spread them out type of ball team, but it'll be interesting for North Posey, and this should be a really good matchup. I really think it'll be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Second time that North Posey's been to the state championship game. They won semi-state in 2005. The Vikings have never won a state championship.
Right.
So this is kind of a resurgence for this group. They get to the sectional. They lose the sectional championship a year ago. This is a team that really, from this last 10 years, has kind of found a resurgence. That first half of the 21st century, the first couple years, they were tough to get out of sectionals. They've gotten it on the right track here. 13-1 on the year, averaging 38.9 points a game with 10 on defense. Seventh year for their coach. So a guy is somebody that, in a team that has really played on strong. They've put 63 up on a team, 70, 55. So this team really can score. I think, the defense is going to have to play big for Luers again. It's going to be a tough matchup, but I think, it'll be really interesting seeing how it bears out with the experience of Luers playing in the SAC against a team like North Posey out of Poseyville.
Yeah. And again, this game, defense will be a dominant type of talking point because it'll take a very good defensive effort from Luers in this ball game. And I do think with their front four, with Zay and Jackson on the two bookends, they can have a big game that night.
Absolutely. For those wondering, Poseyville in Posey County, the southernmost, the westernmost county in Indiana, from North Posey High School to Bishop Luers High School, 299 miles, 4 hours and 44 minutes. Right smack dab in the middle is Lucas Oil Stadium.
That's
so
right.
Perfect meeting point for those two teams. A team that I have never seen one of our Fort Wayne schools really play before in the North Posey Vikings. So should be an interesting matchup there. Moving on to our third and final game of the area state championship, the 5A state championship. Snider Panthers return to face Decatur Central, the Hawks. Now, Decatur Central out of the Indianapolis area, they're in the western part. So they're like in some respects, I think they're kind of in that same around Ben Davis area. So it's a school that's really gotten big in the last 10 years, a really good football team. And they're looking to take on a Snider team that is just clicking on all cylinders, Coach.
Yeah, they Decatur Central it was kind of surprised winning the semi-state that they did win. And I was trying to do a quick search on them, but they got a young kid at quarterback. He's a sophomore, Polston. He's thrown for 1,500 yards, but only completing 48% of his passes. So 19 touchdown passes, 9 interceptions. And then on the running side of it, they got Doot, who's a junior, over 1,100 yards, and Barry, who's the senior, with 991 yards. And top receivers, Richmond, who is a senior, has got 600 yards. So they're a team that probably spread, running the football and utilizing, some passing game with some play actions and boot. But you would think that's a young quarterback to go in a state final with only being a sophomore. That, in that respect will be a big advantage for Snider in that respect, because I think they've got the front that can get after them. 11-2, like I said, 5-2 in their conference. They play in the Mid-State Conference, which is pretty good, but they beat a pretty darn good Bloomington South team.
Yep.
And that's why I said it was a surprise in that regard.
Not only that, they beat number 1 Bloomington South in the semi-state. At the regional, they avenged a regular season loss to Whiteland, which Whiteland was in the state championship game a year ago in Class 5A. I'm not even so sure. They might be Valpo was so yeah, they were the state runner-up a year ago.
Yeah.
Just trying to do all this math in my head here, but yeah, Decatur Central, a team that got to state in 2018. They won the semi-state, and so they're, again, a team in the west of Indianapolis that has really grown, become a really good football program, and probably a team that we're going to see around for a long time. So we may want to start getting familiar with this team in our area, because when you talk about, we've talked about it through the gamut of history, Penn and Warren Central and Ben Davis against teams like Snider. Now Decatur Central may enter the fray here.
They only threw the ball 11 times against Bloomington South, but they rushed the ball 47 times for 413 yards, averaging 8.8 a carry. And the Barry kid, 256 yards against Bloomington South, his longest was 60-yard touchdown. So they're a team that likes to run the football, and this is going to be a big test for Snider's defense again, but I do like Snider's chances in this one as well.
Yeah, Snider, their 8th state finals appearance. They've won 2, so they're 2-6 in the previous 2-5 in the previous 7. This will be their 8th on Friday night, 7:00 from Lucas Oil Stadium. We wish them as the best as well. Well, Coach, that will do it for us this week as we look ahead to the state finals. 3 games left, 3 teams left. Should be exciting on Friday night. And one more week of the season, we know everybody's done after this. So you go out and give it your best shot, whatever team you're playing for.
Yeah, and, just to follow up a couple things here, then I'll sign us off. But Friday and Saturday, we'll have you covered. We'll have the 1A game with Adams Central and Indy Lutheran, and then the 5A championship game that night, Snider, North Posey, all on 1380 The Fan on Friday. On Saturday, it will be stream only, and we'll have you covered there from start to finish. And again, and with all the state championship games going on, and hopes to those kids that are playing, good luck to them and their coaches to bring back a state championship. Again, if you can find us on YouTube, please like and subscribe, Apple, Spotify, like, rate, and comment. And one other thing, Doot, before we go here, my man, we will have a seasonal wrap-up upon further review next week with a special guest that will bring it on at that time, and we're hoping it works out. But we will wrap it up next week and recap all these games, and then talk a little bit about the future. So from my man Eric Doot Dukevich, I'm the coach Shannon Griffith. We'll catch you next time upon further review. Good night, everybody.